Something's gone seriously wrong in luxury land. Over 2 million designer handbags, we're talking Chanel, Dior, Prada, Louis Vuitton, and everything in between, have been dumped on the market. And not just listed for resale. We're talking liquidation, fire sale, pennies on the dollar. And here's the kicker. It's not just overproduction or bad demand. It's refund chaos. Thousands of buyers who dropped thousands of dollars on luxury handbags are now demanding refunds, returns, and reversals. And retailers can't keep up. The result? Warehouses filled with unsold and unwanted luxury bags, resale sites slashing prices daily, and a market that once thrived on exclusivity now drowning in excess. So how did this happen? How did we go from waitlists and hype to refunds and markdowns? And why are 2 million luxury bags suddenly worth less than a designer keychain? Let's open this very expensive can of worms. The glut no one saw coming. Luxury fashion is supposed to be the one market that never discounts itself. It's the golden rule. Luxury doesn't go on sale. People go broke trying to afford it. But somewhere between 2020 and now, that rule got shattered. After the pandemic, the world's biggest luxury brands went into production overdrive. Demand was sky high. Everyone wanted a taste of luxury, even if it meant going into debt for it. Brands saw record profits. So they did what every company does when things look good. They made more, and not just a little more. They flooded the system. Factories in Italy, Spain, and France quietly increased output. Private label manufacturers in Turkey and Vietnam joined in to meet secondary demand. The logic was simple. If people are buying, keep producing. Except luxury doesn't work like that. When everyone can have it, no one wants it. The year luxury became fast fashion. By 2023, luxury had officially turned into fast fashion with better packaging, limited edition collections released monthly, exclusive drops scheduled like clockwork. Handbags that were once whispered about were now being promoted through influencer codes and TikTok ads. The mystique was gone, and worse, the prices kept climbing. A Chanel flat bag that cost $5,000 in 2019 as hitting nearly $10,000 by 2024. But the quality? Questionable. Customers started noticing thinner leather, uneven stitching, and cheaper hardware. The luxury illusion was cracking, and buyers began to feel it. People who spent a fortune expected perfection. When they didn't get it, they wanted their money back. Refund fever. It started small, a few disgruntled buyers returning bags with comments like, "Not worth the price." Then came the avalanche. Return rates in luxury retail, which used to hover around 3 to 5%, suddenly hit double digits. By mid-2025, certain online boutiques were reporting refund rates over 20%. That's insane for luxury. Even the big resale platforms, the ones that promised authentic pre-owned prestige, started facing complaints. Buyers were claiming bags didn't match descriptions, colors were off, or that they looked used. And to make it worse, luxury e-commerce boomed during the pandemic, meaning a lot of those high-ticket returns were going to warehouses, not boutique counters. So when the refund requests started piling in, those warehouses filled up fast. Within months, Europe's biggest third-party luxury distributors were stuck holding more than 2 million bags they couldn't sell or return. Some were perfectly fine. Some were returned used. Some were damaged from repackaging. But all of them had one thing in common. They were losing value by the day. From boutique to bargain bin. When luxury goods get returned, they don't just go back on shelves. They enter a strange retail limbo, a place where brand reputation and overstock collide. Officially, most luxury houses destroy unsold or returned products to protect brand value. Unofficially, some of that stock ends up leaking through gray market resellers. And that's what's happening right now. Bags that once cost $4,000 are showing up on obscure e-commerce sites for $800. Warehouse pallets filled with luxury returns are being auctioned off in bulk, sometimes sight unseen. Videos are popping up of resellers unboxing pallets of designer bags like mystery boxes. Half real, half ruined, all deeply discounted. It's chaos. For years, luxury brands pretended they were immune to overproduction. Now they're watching their exclusivity evaporate one discounted tote at a time. The chain reaction. The flood of returned bags didn't just hurt the brands, it broke the resale ecosystem. Platforms like The RealReal, Fashionphile, and Rebag rely on scarcity. They make money off the idea that what you're selling is rare and desirable. But now, they're getting thousands of listings per week for the same models, same colors, same condition. Buyers scroll through page after page of identical luxury bags, each one slightly cheaper than the last. And the prices just keep falling. A Louis Vuitton Neverfull that used to hold steady around $1,800 on resale sites is now listed for as low as $600. Prada nylons, once the starter luxury bag, are being sold for under $300. Even Chanel, the brand that swore it would never lose value, is seeing price tags drop by 30, sometimes 40%. Luxury resale, once the golden child of sustainable fashion, is now starting to look like a clearance aisle. The blame game. So who's at fault here? The brands? The resellers? The buyers? Honestly, all of them. The brands got greedy, the resellers overhyped, and the buyers believed the lie that luxury equals investment. For years, luxury houses told people their handbags were better than stocks, that you could park money in leather and watch it grow. And to be fair, that illusion worked for a while, but markets built on illusion always collapse. Now, everyone's facing the reality that no matter how fancy the logo, a bag is still just a product. It ages, it devalues, it loses appeal, and when people start returning luxury goods because they don't spark joy, you know the fantasy's over. The customer revolt. The refund explosion also exposed something deeper, a change in the buyer mindset. Today's luxury customer isn't like the old one. They're more demanding, more skeptical, and way less loyal. They don't care if a bag is handmade in France. They care if it holds up on Instagram. They want sustainability, ethics, resale value, convenience, same-day delivery, 30-day returns, and instant gratification, all in one purchase. That's not luxury. That's Amazon Prime with a gold zipper, and luxury brands, desperate to appeal to younger buyers, started playing that game. Now, they're realizing you can't sell exclusivity and convenience in the same box. The moment you make luxury easy, it stops feeling special. The fallout. By the end of 2025, the luxury industry found itself in a full-blown identity crisis. Warehouses were overflowing, resale platforms were saturated, and shoppers, once hypnotized by exclusivity, had suddenly snapped out of it. The headlines were brutal. Luxury glute hits, record high. Refund tsunami shakes designer market. Once priceless bags now cheaper than iPhones. Inside boardrooms, brand executives tried to spin the narrative. They blamed logistics delays, supply chain bottlenecks, or unforeseen consumer behavior. But everyone knew the truth. The bubble had burst. Luxury had gotten greedy. And when luxury loses restraint, it loses meaning. The warehouse problem. The real mess was behind the scenes, in the logistics centers that nobody ever sees. When customers return luxury bags, they don't go back to the same gleaming boutique where they were sold. They go to third-party fulfillment hubs. Massive sterile spaces stacked to the ceiling with orange boxes and black dust bags. Workers started joking that they could build a small city out of Louis Vuitton monograms alone. There were reports of brands renting extra storage just to hold the backlog. Some warehouses even refused new shipments until existing stock was cleared. The irony? Every bag sitting there was technically worth thousands. Yet together, they were becoming worthless. Luxury doesn't age well in captivity. Each week a bag sits unsold. It becomes last season, and in a world obsessed with what's next, last season might as well be ancient history. The panic discounts. When storage bills pile up, even luxury gets desperate. Quietly, distributors began offloading inventory through unmarked channels. Private auctions, secret online flash sales, and so-called white-label clearance partners. If you knew where to look, you could snag a $4,000 bag. For $500, you just couldn't tell anyone where you got it. It was the fashion equivalent of hush money. Meanwhile, resale platforms were forced to follow suit. They started cutting commissions, introducing coupons, even offering payment plans, things once considered beneath the luxury tier. The race to the bottom had officially begun. How refunds became a crisis. Behind every return is a simple transaction, but multiply that by millions of customers, and it becomes an accounting nightmare. Some e-commerce retailers reported billions locked up in pending refunds. Credit card processors couldn't clear transactions fast enough. Smaller resellers went bankrupt waiting for chargebacks to process. And the worst part? Some buyers learned how to game the system. Fake return claims exploded. People would buy a real bag, file a defective claim, and send back a counterfeit. By the time anyone caught on, the original had already been flipped online. Luxury, the symbol of trust and prestige, was now drowning in fraud. The brands strike back. By mid-year, major houses started fighting back, in the most Hermes way possible, quietly, strategically, and without ever admitting there was a problem. Chanel tightened purchase limits. Louis Vuitton began watermarking internal tags to trace returns. Dior quietly pulled back online stock and redirected customers to boutiques, where returns are harder to file. A few brands even started introducing restocking fees. Imagine paying a fine for changing your mind about a $6,000 handbag. The message was clear. If you want the luxury experience, you play by luxury rules again. No more easy refunds. No more treating heritage like fast fashion. The reseller meltdown. While the big houses rebuilt their walls, resellers were collapsing. Their entire model depended on scarcity and trust, both gone overnight. With 2 million bags flooding the market, algorithms couldn't keep up. Prices changed daily, authenticity checks lagged, and sellers undercut each other like it was a yard sale. Buyers got suspicious. Why is everyone selling the same bag? Confidence evaporated. The once prestigious second-hand luxury market, the same one that had been valued at over $50 billion, suddenly looked shaky. Investors pulled funding from resale startups. Influencers quietly deleted their flip your bag for profit videos. And just like that, the great luxury resale revolution started looking more like a cautionary tale. The customer's revenge. Here's the twist. While brands were panicking, customers were having a moment of empowerment. For the first time in modern luxury history, they held the leverage. People realized they didn't have to beg to buy. They could demand refunds, walk away, and watch the market bend to their will. Luxury had trained consumers to feel grateful for being chosen. Now the roles reversed. Customers were saying, if you don't meet my standards, I'll take my money elsewhere. That attitude spread fast. Suddenly, even loyal clients were questioning loyalty programs, VIP lists, and exclusive appointments. Luxury's charm had always been its ability to make you feel lucky to buy. Now, people wanted to feel lucky to keep what they bought. When perception turns, here's the thing about luxury, it's fragile. The moment people start questioning whether it's worth it, the whole illusion shakes. When customers see bags piling up in warehouses and selling at half price, that prestige fades fast. It's like finding out your favorite restaurant reheats leftovers. The food might still taste good, but the magic's gone. And once perception turns, it's almost impossible to fix. Because luxury isn't built on logic, it's built on faith. Faith that what you're buying is special, rare, untouchable. Now, that faith is gone. And rebuilding it, that's going to take more than clever marketing. The great luxury hangover. By late 2025, the luxury industry looked exhausted. Years of non-stop hype had led to a massive burnout, for brands and buyers alike. Even the influencers looked tired. The captions changed from new drop to taking a break from shopping. The world's obsession with handbags as status symbols was fading. People started trading their designer totes for travel, experiences, and smaller, independent labels that actually meant something. Luxury had overdosed on itself, and now it needed rehab. Picking up the pieces. After the chaos, luxury brands went quiet, suspiciously quiet. No press conferences, no apologies, no "we value our customers" statements. Just silence. That's how you know they're in recovery mode. Because when luxury screws up, it doesn't explain. It disappears, recalibrates, and returns with better lighting. Behind the scenes, damage control was in full swing. Marketing departments were rewriting narratives. Production teams were freezing output, and boutique managers were suddenly out of stock again. A convenient way to fake scarcity while clearing the warehouse mess. It was the great luxury disappearing act. Make the problem invisible until the world forgets. Rebuilding the myth. The first rule of luxury rehab: rewrite the story. So, the brands did exactly that. Chanel rolled out new slogans about craftsmanship and legacy. Louis Vuitton pivoted to art collabs and exhibitions, anything to remind people they were culture, not commerce. Gucci quietly slowed down its release cycle, trading flashy logos for minimalism. Even online, luxury started speaking softer. No more influencer codes, no more limited time drops. Just mystery again, the way it used to be. It was a full rebrand disguised as nostalgia. They weren't chasing buyers anymore. They were luring them back. The rise of quiet luxury. And right in the middle of all this chaos, a new movement emerged. Quiet luxury. Clean lines, muted colors, no logos, no screaming status. The kind of style that whispers, not shouts. It's the pendulum swing. After years of flex culture, people got tired of being loud. Now they wanted to look rich without trying to look rich. It's no coincidence that brands like the Row, Loro Piana, and Brunello Cucinelli started trending right when the Refund headlines hit. They represented everything the luxury world had forgotten. Subtlety, restraint, taste. In a way, quiet luxury isn't new. It's a return to the old rules, when exclusivity meant being the only one who even knew what you were wearing. That's the kind of prestige Hermès never lost, and it's the kind every other brand now desperately wants back. The scarcity reset. Luxury thrives on limits. When everything becomes available, it dies. The great luxury dump proved that. So now brands are swinging hard in the other direction, back to fewer releases, smaller batches, tighter access. Waitlists are returning. Invite-only events are back. And boutique appointments are suddenly booked solid again, even if the stock isn't there. It's all theater, and it's working. Because luxury has never been about the product. It's about the chase. The fewer bags available, the more desirable they become. The more mysterious the process, the more magical it feels. It's supply and demand dressed in silk. The price illusion. Here's the weirdest twist of all. After the crash, prices didn't drop in stores. They rose. Yeah, you heard that right. Even with warehouses full of unsold inventory, brands kept raising prices. Why? Because perception is everything. If they admitted prices were falling, they'd admit the illusion was broken. Instead, they doubled down, quietly killing discount channels, tightening control of distribution, and launching new heritage editions to justify higher tags. It's the same psychological trick Hermès has used forever. When demand dips, create the illusion of more exclusivity. It works because people don't buy luxury with their wallets. They buy it with emotion. Raise the price, and it feels rare again. The emotional economy. At its core, luxury isn't a financial product. It's emotional currency. It's the thrill of being chosen. The comfort of knowing your bag says something about you that words can't. And for a while, the industry forgot that. They tried to scale emotion like it was production. But emotion doesn't scale. Now they're learning the hard way that exclusivity isn't just about scarcity, it's about intimacy. A personal shopper who knows your name. A boutique visit that feels like a ceremony. A bag handed to you like a secret. That's what buyers missed during the chaos. That's what brands are trying to bring back. Luxury is returning to emotion, not efficiency. The counterfeit complication. Of course, not everyone got the memo. The crash created the perfect storm for counterfeits. With 2 million real bags dumped and prices in free fall, the fakes slipped right in, indistinguishable to the untrained eye. Scammers started listing refunded or warehouse stock luxury bags online, complete with fake receipts and photos pulled from real sites. Buyers desperate for a deal snapped them up. It became almost impossible to tell what was real anymore, even for experts. And that's the danger. Once trust breaks, it doesn't matter how good the product is. Luxury without trust is just expensive confusion. The return of craftsmanship. To fight back, some brands did the only thing they could, return to their roots. They brought back the artisans, the real craftspeople, the quiet masters who make things by hand, the way it was always meant to be. Suddenly, workshops became marketing tools. Documentaries showing the process. The sewing, the cutting, the care started popping up online. It wasn't about flexing logos anymore. It was about showing time. Time became the new luxury. Because in a world of instant everything, patience is priceless. And for buyers burnt out by hype, that message hit home. The new luxury mindset. So here's where the industry stands now, battered, humbled, but wiser. Luxury is shifting from "look at me" to "look at this." It's less about the person wearing the bag, more about the bag itself. Less about the price tag, more about the process. The next era of luxury won't be about mass demand. It'll be about micro-devotion. Fewer customers, deeper loyalty. Fewer releases, more meaning. Because exclusivity doesn't come from keeping people out. It comes from making them feel like they belong to something small, special and sincere. And that's what luxury forgot when it became obsessed with scale. The rebound begins. By late 2025, the luxury landscape started to shift again. Slowly, quietly, the way luxury always does. The frenzy was gone. The fire sales had stopped. And somewhere between Paris and Milan, the tone changed from panic to poise. Brands weren't bragging about record sales anymore. They were whispering about craftsmanship. No one was flaunting massive marketing campaigns. They were showcasing artisans and ateliers. The world was tired of loud luxury. The reset had worked. The people who bought out of hype had left. The ones who stayed actually cared. And just like that, luxury found its footing again. Not on the backs of influencers or speculators, but on its oldest, most reliable foundation: obsession. Real obsession. The kind that isn't driven by profit, but by passion. The collector era. The post-crash luxury world doesn't belong to investors anymore. It belongs to collectors. The ones who actually understand the difference between box calf leather and togo. The ones who know that a good bag isn't about resale. It's about heritage. Collectors don't care what's trending. They care what's timeless. They're not chasing likes. They're curating legacies. That's why you're starting to see more collectors than influencers at brand events again. The pendulum has swung back to taste, and brands are rewarding that shift. Private showings are returning. Personal appointments, handwritten invitations, and whispered phone calls. All those little details that make luxury feel personal again. Because if the last few years taught them anything, it's that real prestige doesn't live online. It lives in intimacy. The death of the logo. Remember when you couldn't walk down the street without seeing a monogram the size of a billboard? Those days are fading. The new luxury is quieter. Fewer logos, fewer bragging rights, more meaning. Buyers have seen what happens when prestige becomes too visible. It gets commodified, cheapened, and dumped in bulk. Now subtlety is power. It's not about what you wear, it's about whether people notice. And the best luxury doesn't shout. It lets you whisper and still be heard. This isn't minimalism for trend's sake. It's minimalism as maturity. Luxury's grown up again. The luxury circle of life. It's funny how history repeats itself. Luxury starts small, grows big, gets greedy, loses magic, crashes, and then starts over. It's been the same cycle for a century. What's happening now isn't an ending, it's a reset. The crash exposed the illusion, but it also reminded everyone why they fell in love with luxury in the first place. It was never about price tags. It was about permanence. Not ownership, but connection. Not showing off, but slowing down. The dump didn't destroy luxury, it detoxed it. And now the market feels lighter, cleaner, more grounded. 2 million bags were dumped, but what survived is worth far more than what was lost. The return to meaning. If there's one takeaway from all this, it's that luxury only works when it means something. People want stories again. They want to know why a bag exists, not just how much it costs. They want to feel part of something older than marketing, something that lasts. And the smartest brands are listening. They're not chasing volume anymore. They're chasing reverence. They're building loyalty one quiet moment at a time. A personal note from an artisan. A private fitting that feels sacred. A reminder that the most valuable things in life can't be rushed. That's the soul of luxury, and after years of chaos, it's finally back. The irony of value. The strangest part? The same people who laughed at the crash are now buying again. But this time, they're different. They're cautious, smarter. They're not asking, how much will this sell for? They're asking, will I still love this 10 years from now? That's real value. Luxury has stopped being a competition and started being a conversation between maker and buyer, between past and present. It's less about resale charts and more about resonance. Because value isn't what the market says something is worth. It's what it means when the market falls apart. What comes next? So, where does luxury go from here? Probably exactly where it came from. Back to smaller production, fewer customers, slower storytelling. Back to artistry over algorithm. Back to the quiet satisfaction of owning something that doesn't need to prove itself. The market will rise again. It always does, but hopefully it'll rise smarter. Because if this crash proved anything, it's that luxury can survive anything except losing its soul. The refunds, the dumping, the markdowns, they were just symptoms of a deeper illness, forgetting what made it special in the first place. Now it remembers. The comeback scene. Imagine this. Somewhere in Italy, in a sunlit workshop, an artisan cuts a piece of leather. Slowly, carefully. He's not thinking about viral posts or resale value. He's thinking about the person who'll carry this bag for decades, maybe longer. That's luxury. And while the headlines scream about refunds and discounts, the real story is happening there, in quiet rooms, in patient hands, in the spaces where time still matters. Because at the end of the day, no algorithm can outshine craftsmanship, and no dump, no refund wave, no panic discount can erase the value of something made with purpose. Luxury's heartbeat was never in the price tag, it was in the process. And somehow, through all the chaos, that heartbeat's still strong. So yes, 2 million bags were dumped, refunds exploded, prices crashed. But if you zoom out, you'll see it wasn't destruction, it was evolution. Luxury had to fall apart to find itself again. Because real value doesn't vanish when markets dip, it just hides, waiting for people to slow down enough to see it. The new luxury isn't about owning more, it's about owning better. It's not about access, it's about appreciation. And maybe that's the real story here, that even when the shine fades and the logos lose their power, craftsmanship still wins. Because luxury isn't dying, it's maturing. And the next time you see a luxury crash headline, remember, that's not the end of the story. It's just the sound of the market catching its breath. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into how the luxury world really works, make sure you stick around. Hit that subscribe button, stay curious, and remember, value fades, hype dies, but real craftsmanship, that never goes out of style.